If you're tired of watching slop tier tutorials that barely scratch the surface, then this video is for you. In this video, we're going to be building a complete combat system from the ground up, and that means server-side hitboxes, knockback physics, stun states, proper replication, and it will include blocking, perfect blocking, and an evasive. And all of this will be done inside of a framework to keep everything modular, and it will use the state manager and animation handler that I made in my previous videos, though these are improved with some fixes because my previous videos were missing some things. You can find both of those on my channel or on the playlist in the description. You will walk away from this knowing how to build a combat system that is scalable, secure, and most importantly, fun to play. Let's break this down step by step, and everything is chaptered so you can skip certain parts if you already know how to do that thing. If this video gets a lot of support and you people actually want to see it, I will make a parrying combat system and make a tutorial for that as well. And I can also do abilities and show you how you can implement them into this system. And for anything in here that I don't mention or would like a more in-depth explanation, just ask in the comments because I had to be very brief in this since there was so much to cover in the time frame that I had. And this video took a lot of time to make, so if you could like and subscribe or leave a comment, it would be very greatly appreciated. And now I will begin with showing you the entire framework setup. First things first, inside of Workspace, you will want to add a folder for the effects and the hitboxes. You need these two. Don't worry about the enemies, that is just because I was testing them, so I made an enemy that attacks me. You just need these two. Next, inside of Replicate Storage, we will need these four folders: Assets, the local handler, which is for the framework, modules, and remotes. Inside of the remotes, you want to have server and replication, like this. Then inside of the modules, you will have these two modules that I will get to when I'm showcasing them. And inside of the assets, you want to have the sounds for perfect blocking, a hit that's blocked, or hitting someone. So I just found these in the toolbox. I'm not going to cover how to actually make sounds. That will take up way too much time. And for the effect, I also just found these in the toolbox. And just make sure that these are apart and they have an attachment inside, and then the effects inside of here. If you know how to do effects yourself and you aren't following this tutorial one-to-one, then I'm sure you know how to set these up differently. But if not, set it up like this. So you want an effect for all of these. You can just find them inside of the toolbox or make your own. And the local handler, you want a folder inside of here for the combat and then the combat type. I will explain how this works when I get into the actual framework. So for the moment, don't worry about this folder right here. And then finally, inside of ContextActionService, we want the skill sets, server framework, and then the actual modules. So it's just one more module to help with a couple things. And as usual, I will get to these when I'm actually talking about the scripts. And the server framework is exactly what you have over here, but this is for the server side. And don't worry about abilities, this is because you can actually set this up with abilities as well. That's why I made a skill set. So, final script is, don't worry about this. Final script in here, you want to have a replicator and an input plus replicator. So the replicator is just for replicating from inside of here, the server side, to the client. And this one is mainly for the inputs and then firing the first time over to the local script inside of here. You will understand more when I actually get to the framework. Those are all the prerequisites. The first thing that I will explain is the skill sets. So in ContextActionService, add a server script, and name it skill sets. Open it up, and inside of here we will just be creating a skill set for the player. So we do game.players player added connect function player. So when a player is added, fire all this code. Then we will get the character. You don't actually really need the character here, but if you want to have other code inside of here, apart from just creating these string values, then you do need the character. So in this case, don't even really bother with that. Now, here we will create a new string value inside of the player and name it to player underscore combat type. And the value we'll set to it is base. Now, what this value represents is inside of here, as you can see, inside of our local handler, .combat, we have base. So in this case, it's the name of the skill set we are using for combat. So if you want different combat skill sets, like you want to have sword, for example, now you can just name this to sword. And when it tries to look for the module, it will look inside of the sword folder instead. So you would just change this inside of the game while you equip a new weapon. Like if you equip a sword, you would just change this value here, and then it will fire the sword modules. It's very simple. And this is so you can have different code for sword and base and any other type of weapons you want to have. And they have different hitboxes, animations, everything, even effects. And this second one here is for skill set, so abilities basically. I'm not going to cover abilities, but this is just showing that you can actually have both. You can have combat and you can have abilities in the framework. The next thing is the input handler. Inside of starter player script, you want to add a script called input replication, or you can name it whatever you want. This is just for inputs, and the first set of sending it to the modules in here. I'll come back to what the replicator over here is for. So in here, at the top, we want to have ContextActionService and replicator storage. ContextActionService is for inputs for console, mobile, and PC. And replicator storage is just the replicator storage. Then we get the player and the character, self-explanatory. And this line is very important because it waits until the character is loaded before continuing any code. So here we have an empty table for the modules. This is just to store the modules in here so we don't have to require them every single time, and we can just access them from inside of here after the first time you require them. I will get into that after I talk about the inputs. And I will also come back to you later when I talk about these. So in the input side, we want to open up bind inputs. So this is just a function for ContextActionService. So how this works is you do ContextActionService, bind action. Here you put the name of the action you want. So for M1s, M2s, and blocks. And here is the function that you want to fire. So on input is the function we're going to fire whenever this is called, or whenever one of these keys is pressed. And the last one you can just leave it as false. And inside of here you can actually set all the different types of keys you want to fire the M1 input. So in this case I have it set as mouse button 1, touch for mobile players, and button R2 for controller players. And you can change these up and add as many as you want. I honestly don't really know much about the different types of buttons you can even have, especially for mobile, so I'm just going to leave them as is like this because I'm not using console or mobile. So if you want a proper tutorial on ContextActionService, you would have to look one up. I do not have one, and I'm not going to fully cover ContextActionService here, just a very simple one. So yeah, then you just want to do the same for M2 input and block input, and of course change the keys. So for keyboard you want F as blocking usually, and M2 you want to make sure it's R. Do not set this to mouse button 2 because with ContextActionService that kind of messes up with your moving your camera. So don't put it as that. Just leave it as R. Okay, and then you can just fire it one time. So now we have the on input function here, which is what we call inside of here whenever the key is pressed. So say we press M1, then it will fire this function right here, and then with this action name right here, it will fire the code for the action name. So the action name is just equal to this. This is the action name. So first off, it checks the state, the input state, and begin is when you press the key, and end is when you release the key. Hence why the blocking here is for unblock. So when we press the key and the action name is M1 input, then it will fire this function, which I will get to up here. And then of course the other types as well. So block 1, then it will fire the block. And same thing for the M2. And here when you release the key, it's the exact same thing. You just put end, and it's also the same here. You just put action name as block input. It's the exact same. Of course, you put different stuff inside of here. And now I'll actually explain what this is. So this is for requiring the modules inside of here, the replicator storage. So what this means is combat is equal to the name of the first folder, so combat. M1 is equal to the name of the function, so M1. And on M1 activated is, sorry, I said that wrong. This one is equal to the name of the module. And this is the name of the function inside of the module that you want to fire. So I have a function called this inside of this module that is going to fire. And do the same for all these other ones. And now I will get into these two over here. So this basically just finds the correct module for you. That's what it does. Get client module. It finds the module based on the action type and the action name. So as we know here, action type is equal to combat, and action name is equal. Okay, no, action name is equal to M1 input. But I think it's different in this context because we are, yeah, in this context it's different. So action name in this context is the M1. So we are getting the M1 as the action name inside of here. And the action type is just equal to either combat or abilities. So inside of here, we will do a bunch of finding stuff until we finally get the module script. And I'm not really going to explain this too much. Let me zoom out a bit so you can see the code. So what this pretty much does is you can read these to find the stuff. This is just finding the string value for what you currently have as your skill set. So let me change this back to base. So it will find your base skill set and it will look inside of the base folder and find the module M1 or M2 or block, depending on what you fire through. And that's folder name, so string value.value, and then it finds the folder and so on. And down here is where we actually load the module inside of the table and we actually fire it. I think firing is inside of here. Yeah, firing is inside of here. So inside of here, we will add to this table the action type, and it will be equal to the action type or a blank table. This is on the first check for the action type. Second one, we will do the same thing for the action type folder name. And finally, we will do it for the whole thing. So the action type, folder name, and the action name. And here we just require the module script if it's not already inside of the table. And then we want to return the client module that we were looking for, because inside of here, let me zoom in, and I'll close you, and I'll close you, and you. So inside of here is where we actually fire to the framework over here. So we have the action type, the action name, and the function name. And this ... here is any extra stuff you want to send through. So if you want to send through the mouse position or any other thing, you would just put it in this ... here. This just means every single thing extra. So we get the client module from this function for the action type and action name. So now this variable is equal to the module that we were looking for. So in this case, let's say M1, because we pressed left mouse button. So if the client module is there and it is a function, the function name inside of the module is a function, then it will fire that function, and here we will put the ... for all the other extra things that we want to add. And if not, it will warn, and so on. This might have been a bit confusing, but it only gets less confusing from here. Just a quick show on how you will do the animations. Go to avatar at the top, animation editor, click on a dummy, and I just made a quick one for knockback, which I didn't even end up using. So all you need to do is go inside of here, 3 dots, animation priority, set it to action, and then you just make your animation. And remember to note down exactly when the strike actually happens. So say this is when your strike happens, then note that down. So at 0.2 is when you want the hitbox to fire, 0.2 seconds. You can also use keyframe signal thing, but I'm not going to get into that because you honestly don't really need it for this, as long as you just know all the times, because there's no effects that really come along with this. So yeah, that's just a quick animation show of how you would do this. And then you publish to Roblox and so on. Save, get the animation ID. Right here, animation ID. Boom. And then you would go and throw the animation ID inside of wherever you would want it, and I showed. And of course, you want to make sure every animation is preloaded inside of the animation handler down at the bottom here. Make sure every animation is preloaded. So yeah, and I will have this entire thing for free in the description. Same thing for the state handler. Both these will be for free in the description, or you can go look at the old videos, or you can just pause it on screen to look at the code. There you go. You can stop this and look at the code. Same thing for this. There you go. You can look at the code. There you are. And of course, you do need the helper module as well. This one is not in the description or doesn't have any video, so you just have to copy it like this. This is for handling removing the hitboxes, applying the knockback, resetting the speed, and setting the speed. And some cleanups on removing and player removing and characters. So inside of here, we will need these services: between service, players, debris, replicate storage. And then we get the server remote, because this is a client script. So we need to fire to the server to do the hitboxes and checks and stuff like that. And then we will get the sounds. Then we get the player and the character, same way as before. And we also get the animation handler, which is a module script. And I will come back to this in just a second. But since it's a module, you require it, and then wherever it is. So in this case, it's in replicate storage, .modules, right there. Then here's some config. So combo reset time. This is for the M1. So after 1.5 seconds, it will reset your combo. If you haven't hit for 1.5 seconds. And here's the combo max. I just put it as 3 because I didn't really make many animations. I just made 3. So it'll be 3 for me. You can change this to how many you want, though you have to change some other stuff in the code, I do believe. Yeah, you'll have to change some stuff inside of the server script. Anyway, here is the animation IDs. So inside of here, just add the animation IDs for your different hits. Hit 1, 2, and 3. And of course, if you have more hits, you want to add them after. And make sure they are in order, because inside of on M1 activated, it will fire through each one in order of how they are here. And make sure it is RBX asset ID. Next, we have the current combo, so just set that equal to 0. Then the cooldown you want to have for the M1, I just set it as 0.5. Then combo reset task, just set that equal to 0. This is for this, you will see inside of the script. And then counter attack is just equal to true for the moment. I don't actually believe I need this because I added some attribute checks in here, but that's fine. So the reset combo, this is just a function to reset the combo. So combo is equal to 0, counter attack is true, and it resets combo reset task to 0. And I mean, I guess you can have that. I don't really need it though. So inside of the actual M1 side, it's not that big of a script, and this is the client side, so it handles some animations and stuff. So if not counter attack, then return end. So if counter attack is equal to true, then it will let you continue, otherwise you can't. Then you'll do some attribute checks here, because this is client side, you can't use the state handler. So I'm just doing some attribute checks, and I did add attributes to the state handler for this. You don't have to, as long as you do the server response, which cancels the animation if the server decides the checks didn't pass. But this is just like simpler, so I made it like this. And then we set counter attack to false, so you can't attack again. Then here we do the combo. So combo is equal to some math there, and this math here is what decides what your combo is. So basically just make sure combo max is correct, and yeah, it will add +1 based on what your current combo is compared to the combo max, and so on. So then we get the animation ID, which is just the animation IDs table that we have here. Combo, so this is what I meant by put them in order, because if combo is 1, then it will get the first one. If combo is 3, it'll get the third one. If it's 2, if it's 4, and so on. So we'll get the one corresponding to which number is in order here. And if there is an animation ID, then we will load the animation with the animation handler, and I will come back to this and explain the animation handler. So for now, just take note of this. But basically, the first parameter in here is just the character. Second one is the name you want the animation to have, so just M1. Third is the animation ID. Fourth was, actually forgot, but just set it to 0. And the last one is for if the animation is looped, so just set that to false because this is an M1. Then this is for combo reset task, so to reset your combo, and you just want to set that to a task.cancel combo reset task, and set this back to 0. So it will fire this after a set amount of time has passed, and this is how you reset the combo inside of here. Combo reset task will be equal to a task.delay, combo reset time, so 1.5 seconds. So wait 1.5 seconds, and then it will reset the combo. And here we do a firing to the server. And this video is getting quite long, so I'm going to be a bit brief inside of the server replicator, pretty much. And real quick, we just do some checks down here for what the combo is to decide what the cooldown should be. This isn't too important because you're doing the checks on the server anyway. And cooldown setting, but you know, might as well. And down here, these are for later. These are for the effects when you are replicating back. So I'll come back to these when it's time for that. And you are also for later, but I can show you now. This is for when you go to the server and it decides to send back a response. So in this case, it only checks if it's declined, and this stops the animation. So this is, as I mentioned, if you don't have all of these and you still just fire to the server, but you do the checks in there and then it decides, no, you shouldn't be able to attack, then it fires back to here and it stops the animation. So it's just a bit of an extra. You don't really need to have this if you're doing the checks here, because it's only for the animation. And from here, we want to go to the server side handler. So over here in ContextActionService, open up the server script called server framework. And I'm not really going to explain this too much because it's extremely similar to the replicator that we had inside of here. And you can just copy this code. It's almost the same thing. And you'll see inside of the replicator as well, it's the same thing, basically. Because this just basically does the same thing that the input handler did. It goes inside of itself. So it looks for combat, base, and then whatever it is. And I did forget to add the evasive, but don't worry about that, I will add it. From here, we want to go to the server M1. So inside of here, we open it up, and boom, this is all the server side. And it's just one function, as you can see here, about 190 lines long, 175. And at the top here, we will just have the services. So let's zoom in. We have debris, players, server script service, and replicator storage. Then here we get the remote. You fire back to the client. Here is the helper module. Here's the state handler module and the animation handler module. And I will just have all the modules shown on screen later on. It will be chaptered, so you can just skip there and like get all the code for those, or you can go look at the previous videos so you know how to use them, or I might have already put it earlier on in the video. So yeah, here is the hitbox delay, how much delay you want before the hitbox actually shows up after you first press. Then hitbox duration, if you want the attack to guard break, and you don't need to have checked, remove that. And then the damage. And of course, because this is the M1, you want to have combo reset. And it's the same thing as the other one for the combo reset side. Now let's open up this function. So inside of here, we are receiving server check, which, as you can see from here, is what we are firing through, the function server check. So we put the player in, because that's the first thing you receive from a client to server script. Then we get character, humanoid root part, count, and decision. This is for the extra thing that I decided to add. This isn't too important unless you want to have something happen in case one of these is wrong. So just create a variable for decision, just leave it blank, and you just check if the character's M1ing, they can't do anything, they are blocking, or they are stunned. And if they are, then it will just add to the count a number, and at the end it will check if the count is more than or equal to 1, and then it will decline and return end, so it won't fire any of the other code. So this basically just checks if any of these are true, then basically it will stop the code and it will fire back a decision, so you can do something if you want based on it being declined. This is just an extra, you don't need to have this count stuff, and you can just do the checks right here. So, oh, and this is the same thing as before. It's the same thing as this, basically, but it's not on one line. Okay, so yeah, see, on one line this is quite long, but as you can see here, this is the ... stuff. So if you just put a comma, and it's outside of the curly brackets, then the ... will just be equal to all of this extra stuff, so you can reference the player and the decision. Then we will set the state of can't anything for 0.5 seconds, so it stops you from like doing an M2, doing a block, or anything else, because can't anything is set for absolutely everything you do. So for example, if I'm attacking, it will set this for around the duration of it. It stops you from blocking if you are attacking and stuff like that. Then we will check the combo. So yeah, you can just read this as the combo stuff. We get the combo from the state handler, get state combo. If the combo is equal to nil, because it will be on the first time you are receiving it, then it will be equal to 1, and set the state. And this is the duration that we want the state to be active for. So this is enough seconds for a year. So as long as you just put this as a really high number, it's basically infinite. So we'll set the combo, and here we'll do the combo reset task again. I'm not going to cover this again, I already did before. Then here we use the helper function or helper module to change the speeds. You really don't need to have this, you can just change the speed normally. Then here we get the hitbox. So inside of the module script we have a hitbox, and this hitbox has a bit of information. So it has two string values inside of it called owner and attack name. These are to identify who the hitbox's owner and what the actual attack is for that hitbox. So you can destroy someone else's hitbox if you hit them first. So we get the hitbox's C-frame and size to do a get pass bounding box, and we get the parameters. You can read this. It's overlap params.new and exclude, and this is what we are excluding. So the hitbox and the character, so it will not hit the hitbox and the character. It will ignore those. And the max parts, so you can just set this to a high number and you should be fine. Or if you want it to not hit many parts, you can, but that makes the hitbox unreliable, because if there's too many parts in the hitbox's section, then it might not detect the player or the character that you're trying to hit. Then here are the results, and for the results you will do a loop, because it will find everything inside of the get past bounding box, so every part inside of the box. And here we do the actual logic. So here we go. Let me zoom out a bit more. Here we do the logic, and it looks like a lot, but it's actually quite simple. Yeah, I can just section them off real quick, so it looks less confusing. So we get the target character, which is the part that we hit. Find first child, actor of class, model, find first actor, ancestor. It's, yeah. If there is a character and it's not already hit, so it's not already in this table, this is to prevent multi-hits. Then it will continue on, it will find a humanoid, and it will check if it's a player. This is for some stuff later on down here. Get the humanoid root part and my humanoid root part. This is for some knockback stuff, which I will get to. Then we check if there is a humanoid, and this basically just checks that the thing you hit is not a player, or the thing you hit, if it is a player, then it's not equal to you. Then we do a state handler get state check. So this checks if the person you hit has the iframe state. If it does, then it will just return end. It doesn't do anything to you. You can make this fire through some effects, as I will show you for the perfect blocking and blocking. I didn't really add effects, but it's very easy to do so. Then we have the do attack function. This is just a simple function to apply knockback and do damage. So I'll just throw this function. You can just read the code for this. So it basically gets the direction of where you want them to be knocked back, and it's pretty much just equal to u minus them dot unit. So wherever you're positioned compared to where they are positioned, so basically a straight line towards them from your humanoid root parts, it will send them in that direction. It's not based on where you are looking, just where you are compared to them. So here you just do a check if the combo is equal to 3. Then it will do a larger knockback. This is what I meant by you will have to check inside of here for changing it to whatever your new max is. So if you change your combo max to like 5, then come in here and change it to 5 as well. To simplify this, you can just add a variable up here, but I'm not going to for the moment, because I just explained that you can do that. So then we apply the knockback, which is a function inside of the helper. So I'll get back to the helper, or I probably already showed it on screen. So yep, we apply a knockback. Well, as you can see, the target character, the direction, the distance, and the duration the knockback lasts. Then we will set stun to the enemy or the target character to true for 0.6 seconds, and I forgot what the 2 was for. And here we'll just make the enemy take damage. That's it for this function. And here we check if they are perfect blocking. So these are for checking a DOT. So we're going to check the DOT. Now the dot is, I'm not really sure how to explain it exactly, but it's basically so you have an angled hitbox and it's not a 360-degree hitbox. You could change this to a different number and play around with it to make the hitbox larger or smaller. So yeah, play around with this number. It only goes up to 0 or 1, I do believe. I'm not sure if it goes above that. I don't think it does. So yeah. And if the dot is more than the threshold, then it will stun you. So we'll set a stun for you because you got perfect blocked, and it will set a state for can't anything. And of course it will fire to the client for firewall clients. I'll come back to the firewall clients after I explain the other ones. So inside of before that, if the threshold is not true, so if it's not good and they didn't perfect block it, then it will just do a normal attack on them. So I can close this one real quick. Next we have the normal M1, and let's open this up. So, oh no, we're checking if the person we are hitting is M1ing. So if the person we're hitting is M1ing, but we hit them first, then remove hitboxes by name for character, which is another helper function, which I've probably already showed on screen, and then it will do an attack for them, to them. So it deletes their hitbox because you hit them first. Same thing for the M2. And then we get to the blocking, and the blocking is similar to the perfect blocking one. We check the DOT. If it's in a threshold, then we check if the attack is supposed to guard break, which we can set at the top here. If the attack guard breaks, then we will stop the animation for the target character that we hit, and you can make it play a different animation here for guard broken, just with the animation handler. I forgot to, but you can add it in here, and it will take the damage, of course, because they got guard broken. And sets a stun, removes their states, make sure it removes their blocking state, and also make sure this is here inside of the else over here. I'll come back to that in just a minute. So if it doesn't guard break, then it will just do a firewall clients to the client for blocked effects. I will also show this in a minute. Then down here, so if you hit them and the dot is not correct, but they are still blocking, because of course they have the state, then you want to actually remove that block. So you do this as well. Just remember to add that. So now it will remove their block if they are blocking and you hit them from like the side or something. And of course, do attack. And finally, just a very simple do attack and firewall clients for a normal hit for the effects. These here are all for the effects. And now that I've explained everything else, I will quickly show the effects. And real quick, you want to add the hitbox with debris for the hitbox's duration. So back inside of here, I'll quickly show you the effects. So you have these effects here: the hit effect, blocked effect, and perfect blocked effect. And make sure these are inside of the M1 module. So for each different combat type, you can have different effects that you want to play. If you are perfect blocked, or if you blocked an attack, or if you hit someone, so you can have different effects play. So this is very simple. All we'll do is play the sound, and we do this inside of here because this fires all clients, and fire all clients pretty much just fires it to every single player, and it doesn't do anything on the server. So if you do fire client only, it will only show for you the effects. Fire all clients sends it to every single person, and it removes all the issues for having effects on the server. And that's also why we do the sound here, because it will just play the sound for everyone. So we'll play the sound, then we'll find the effect. These are all, like, every single one of these is the exact same, but I just changed the name. So it finds the effect inside of replicated storage, assets, effect, and then whichever one of the effects it is, and it will clone it. It will parent it to the enemy character's torso, because that's where you want the effect to show. And then you just do a quick loop for what's inside of the effect. And make sure you clone the attachment, by the way, because you want to get the children of the attachment. So everything inside of the attachment, these three, it would emit, and then you would use debris to add it for only 0.5 seconds. And you just clone the exact same thing for all these other ones for the other effects. So yeah, that is it for the effect. And final things I need to go into are the other ones. So M2s and then the blocking. The blocking is extremely simple. I'll show that one next. So let's get into the blocking real quick. So we'll do the client block first. So inside of here, we go to, and let me just delete this old one. So we'll go inside a block. This one is very simple. We have the same stuff as before. Everything's the exact same up here. And here we have the animation ID for the block. You're gonna have to make your animations and stuff. And for the blocking one, make sure the animation is looped, and the animation type is action. You want all of these animations to be action type, every single one of them, except maybe like movement ones. For all the combat ones, you want them to be action. So here we get the block function. We just check if you can't do anything or are stunned, then you won't be able to block. And here we just load the animation for blocking. So let me set that true. And here we just fire to the server to do server-side logic. So yeah, you can just see the unblock real quick right here as well. It's the same thing, and it fires deactivated. And this fires when you release the F key. So inside of the server one now, let's open it up. And inside of here, we will receive activated and deactivated. And here is where we do the perfect blocking window as well. So we just do the checks for M1 and all of that. And we have the exact same stuff at the top that we did in all of the other ones. And here we have the perfect block window. So you can change this to however long you want. I put it as 0.1 seconds. That's the perfect blocking window you have. And over here, we just do the set speed thing again. Go from the help module. And here we set the state character blocking to true for basically infinite amount of time. And here we set the state for perfect blocking to true for 0.1 seconds. So for 0.1 seconds, you will have this state. And this fires instantly when you press F. And next, you have the deactivated function, which just checks if you have the blocking state. If you do, then it will reset your speed back to the base, and it will remove both of these states. Though you probably should do another check to see if you have the perfect blocking state. So you just real quick do if state handler, get state, character, perfect blocking. Then, and the reason I'm not typing all of this out and I'm just showing you the code and explaining is because I just wouldn't have the time to type all of this out and explain it in such a short amount of time, though the video is already very long. So yeah, you just do a check here and remove it only if you actually have the perfect blocking state as well. That's it for the blocking. And now I will go into the M2. So the M2 is actually basically the same. So go to the client M2. And the only real difference here is that you don't actually even really need this module function. Let me just remove that. So the only difference is you don't have the table for the animation IDs. You just have one because it's just one M2. And you don't have any of the reset cooldown combo things. It's just very, very simple. You play the animation and then you fire to the server. And you have the same stuff down here, as you can see, for the VFX. So this one has the guard broken one because you can guard break with the M2. And it's the exact same thing as all the other ones. And server response is the same. So, okay, here we fire to the server for the M2, server check. So now let's go into the server for the M2. And inside of here, it's all basically the exact same thing. That's how easy it is. You can just copy paste the hitbox and change some values. So if you want the hitbox to be bigger, you can just change the... Oh, I didn't mention the hitbox is actually inside of the script. And you want to make sure the hitbox is can glide off and anchored true. And I think you can leave can query on. So yeah, in here you can just edit the size and stuff. And yeah, here, same as everything. And the only real difference is that you change guard break to true. And in the M1, you can actually set it to true if you want. Later on, if the combo is like 4, you can set it to true. I'm sure you can figure that out. So yeah, the only difference in here is that when you go down to the blocking, here we go, blocking, inside of the guard break, it will actually be true. That's the only difference. Everything else is the same for the most part, except like a couple changes, like it's M2 here instead of M1, and it sets the M2 state instead of the M1 state. That's the only real difference. From all that I've explained inside of how the framework works, I'm sure you could probably add an evasive for yourself, but just in case, I will quickly show you how you can add a very simple one. So inside of the input replication, you just want to copy this, add a new one for evasive, name this evasive, then change the key code to whatever you want the evasive to be. I'll just put it out like E or something, and change these to, you know, the other stuff for console and mobile. Then inside of here, we just want to check if the state is else if action name is equal to just evasive. If it is, then boom, filled out for me. Wonderful. I think that is what I named it inside of here. I'll just uppercase E. There we go. So now it will fire the evasive, and it should be named evasive. And let me also add a script for you inside of here. Name you evasive. So now that we have you inside of the local script, create the function module.evasive, and of course you want to quickly go inside of here and copy all of this. So now you have all of the stuff up here. So here you can just do a couple quick checks, like if you want it to not be used in certain conditions, you can. But in my case, I don't really need that, since an evasive should let you get out of anything. So all I will do is just, you can go. I will take this code right here, put it in here, and change this up. So you will fire evasive. So now it fires to the server, evasive, and inside of here, we will add a function module.evasive. And inside of here, we will actually handle the logic. So all we need to do is quickly add the state manager. So let me just go up to the top here to get the handlers and all this stuff. So add these inside of here. And from here, you just want to do state handler dot set state for the character. Oh, we need to get the character real quick. So play the character. And for the character, we want to set state of iframes, all in caps. Make sure these are named properly, like how inside of, which one is it? It's in here. Like how inside of here I set it to iframes in full caps. You can use like enums for this as well, and I didn't mention add this in here. I'll have like a list of things that you should and could add to this to improve it. I just didn't have time to show all of these things, so I'm being kind of brief. So we will just set the state to iframes for however long you want it to be. So let me just go ahead and get a set state. So can't anything, the true for the duration. Okay, wonderful. So true for however long you want the duration to be. So evasive or just duration. So we'll set it to like 1.5 duration. And you can even expand on this a little more by, oh, and also just add a quick cooldown. Actually, for the cooldown, you can just also use a set state. So you can do if state handler or get state character iframe cooldown, then return, and here you do exactly this and just set it for iframe cooldown. And the duration will be equal to, let's say, 10 seconds, so you can't spam the iframe. So you can have some extra stuff, like if you want the iframe to let you attack, but if you attack, it will cancel it. So you evasive and you can just instantly attack, but then you won't have your full 1.5 seconds. You can go ahead and do that inside of here. So you can make it at the top, you can make it cancel your evasive state. So state handler dot remove state, or whatever it was. Remove states, there we go. And you will just remove the, after all the checks, after the counts, I mean. So you will just remove the iframe one. So let me show you. Quick example. Press this, that sets up my NPCs. So here you go, you can see that I'm being hit. Can't move, can't attack or anything. Can't block. Let me get out. What was my, I think it was E. So there we go, iframes. And I did break him because he is not fully set up. He does not have the most up-to-date combat system, but pretty much you couldn't hit me because I had iframes. As you can see, I printed out iframes. So yeah, one thing I did briefly miss is in case you want to make this so you can actually equip and unequip the combat. It's actually quite simple. You would just add another thing in here for example, like I've got the evasive. You just add another one in here for equip. And you can just set the key to whatever you want. I'll just put on like T because I don't think I'm using T right now for anything. And as usual, you just add it inside of here. Also if action and so on. Let me just copy all of this. And the action name. Yeah, and it's equal to equip. Then we will just fire through. We can add a new one inside of here for equip. So duplicate the evasive and call it equip, and duplicate it inside of the server as well, and name it equip. And you can just be called equip and equip. So then inside of here, the local, we will receive equip. So I'll just fire equip and equip. That's it, just so we can get it to the server. And now from the server, all we will do is we will just don't need any of this. Well, I'll leave it for now because we are going to set something. So we're just going to set equip to true for 9999999, or you can set equip to false. So we can just do if state handler dot get state character equip. Then so that means if it's already true, then we will set it equal to false for that time. Else, we will just set it equal to true. And all we need to do now is just check inside of the M1 if equip is true. So inside of the client, and I'm not going to do this myself right now because I'll have to go through every single one and just quickly add it. But I'll just show you an example in one of them. So you would just do another get state, else if state handler dot get state character equip is equal to false, then return it. So pretty much if false is, oh, I don't need to have the end. There we go. Oh wait, you don't need to return anything because it's already doing the other. So count plus equals 1. And actually I did make a typo, it's supposed to be plus equals. So yeah, now it'll just add on to this, and if it's not equipped, then it will just not let you. And you can also add this inside of here, the local side, with just a get attribute check. So get attribute equip is equal to false, then return end. So now it will not let you fire the attack unless your equip is actually on. I'm not going to add it for all the other ones because I just have to quickly explain it. And simply, if you want to just add this to a tool system, you would just have this, add a new variable at the top, and set the required tool name to this, which is the value inside the skill sets. And from here, just add a simple function right here. You can look at this right here. It'll loop, and if the thing that you currently have equipped is equal to what you should have equipped, then we do the check in here, and then it will let you continue. So yeah,